Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how you can add wine and weight loss and have both all together. No, it's not that easy, but we're going to walk you through it. So if you are ready, grab that glass of wine, listen up, lean in as we elevate your mind. Hi.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I know.
It's dim today. Dim's day. This weekend?
Dim. What do you mean?
Dim weekend.
Oh, like a melancholy weekend?
Correct.
Okay.
It was a dark weekend for United States. This attempted assassination was it made me sad.
Why?
Because I am empathetic to people, and even people I don't have the same, beliefs as.
Mhm.
I'm going to say all of them, some of them. Because for someone to try to take someone else's life in any capacity, that doesn't, not that people deserve their lives taken, you know what I'm saying? Just like for your beliefs and what, you stand for, I got sad because I know he is a father and like thinking about it from a daughter's perspective, right? He's a husband, him being like that fear, but then I don't know, there was a lot of emotions and it was just kind of crazy. It was just like a crazy experience. What was your experience?
I was just kind of like, oh, seriously, because I'm trying to think of like, how do I be neutral? I just think it's like, there's so much to the story, right? Or the event. It's like this kid, because I mean, that's a kid, right? The guy was like 20 years old. And so you're like, what is going through your head? And like, what services did you not get? What like unmet needs, like all that, like, because I firmly believe like most people are good people, right?
Yes.
Just things along the way don't work out for everybody in life. And sometimes we overcome those things and sometimes we don't. So that's like, it hurt, like where you're like, gosh, that kid, and it's not to say that I feel bad for him, but it's like, that's a pretty intentional act, that takes a lot of thought and forethought. But then I'm also like, what the hell happened? Like, so apparently the, it's not Social Security. What is it? The
Secret Service.
Secret Service. There we go. Other SS.
They spoke to him, right?
So apparently that department has had a lot of issues too. So then I'm like, okay, why haven't those been fixed, right? Or like, why haven't those been investigated? Why haven't there been new protocols? It's like, to me, that's what I find so flabbergasting about some of the stuff that happens is like, if there's an issue, why aren't we addressing it instead of just being like, we'll sweep it to the side? And it's like, the Secret Service, like they're pretty, I mean, they protect large figures,
Right.
So if there is issues going on and like there's been whistleblowers like talking about like, hey, we're not trained that well, like that should
they did a good job though.
Once it happened.
Yeah, correct.
But also,
but their job is to prevent it from happening too, right?
Yes. And like
that and intelligence.
Yeah. And you think like, okay, so why wasn't this one building, like, why didn't they have better stuff with it?
The same thing.
Yeah. So like
why weren't they on that building?
Yes, correct. And so there's that. And then why is it like the director, I guess, is kind of putting it back on the local police of being like, this was a local police thing, like we're going to have them investigate or something like that. And it's kind of like, but the local police doesn't have the resources that you guys do. And
the training to like do all that.
Yeah. So that's frustrating to me. And then I think as much as anybody doesn't like Trump or doesn't like Biden or doesn't like any of the other political figures, us, yeah, it doesn't mean they deserve to die. Like,
no,
you know what I mean? Like, and I think too, thinking about like, okay, if say him or Biden unfortunately was shot and died, it's like that ramification is so profound. Like, right, what happened now is so profound.
Country.
Yeah, but it's so profound, and we're already so like
Divided.
I don't really know if we are divided when you actually talk to people, right? Because
Right.
when you actually talk to people, we're really not. We're all just kind of like, it's really fucked up and we should all get our shit together. But like when it's constantly reported how divided you are, and then something like this happens, and then the conspiracy theories start coming out, it only incites like more questions, fears, reluctance towards an entity that is really supposed to be there for you. But if people aren't really feeling that, like, then it makes it worse.
I will say both of them did respond in a good way. I think it was almost in a weird way, like uniting, you know, and, it's one of those things in history, like you said, like in a moment, the entire trajectory of our country could have been changed like that, and I hope that, for Donald Trump, he is leaning in his faith and, the things that if that happened to me, I would give everything away at that point and just like be a missionary. Give it to the foster kids. Like here, you can have, I'm not saying that, but you know what I mean? Anyway, also sad this weekend, Richard Simmons passed away.
I thought so I heard that, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought he had already died.
No, they couldn't find him.
Oh, okay.
So there was this whole conspiracy, and he's like, I'm at home, leave me alone.
Like when someone said that this weekend, I was like, wait, because we all thought he had already died. And then I was like, is this a Nelson Mandela effect kind of thing? Do you know what that is?
No.
Oh, I'll leave that for another time.
Okay.
But, yeah, so I thought it was a Nelson Mandela kind of thing.
Where he was actually dead, but he wasn't dead?
Yeah, so
I don't know this.
Nelson Mandela has been reported dead before, and then he wasn't actually dead, but then he was reported dead again.
So like Tupac.
Yes, in a way. And so then there's another, like, then you start looking back of things that have changed over time. There's like this whole thing with the Bernstein Bears and the Bernstein Bears. Like that changed over time, but then they say that didn't actually happen. But then there's actual like documentation that it did change. It's really odd.
Yeah, I need to know all of these things. By the way, I have not watched your Tell Me You Love Me, but I had it saved.
On the list.
Dr. Ruth died, and Dustin goes, she's still alive? I'm like, yes. Dr. Ruth, love Dr. Ruth. Dr. Ruth was one of the reasons I wanted to go to school to be a therapist. I wanted to be a sex therapist like her because I wanted to change sex education in this beautiful country of ours that has shit sex education. You all already know that story. And Shannon Doherty.
She was on
90210. Her and Luke are up there in the sky.
Shannon Doherty. How'd she die?
Loving she had breast cancer.
That's sad. You know who the therapist that I grew up listening to is Dr. Laura Lessinger.
Oh, she was very religious, right?
No.
Is she religious?
I don't think so. Because she's ruthless, man.
I believe I read a book. Oh my God. You want to talk about the other most embarrassing time of my life? God, what? This is just about my embarrassment. Look at us.
Bringing it all out of you.
Yeah, it's great therapy. I haven't had therapy in a couple of weeks. So yeah, we'll talk about that. So I'm in some psych class, and we have to read this book, and then at Arizona State.
Okay.
And read this book and like write and speak in front of people. And this is when I was like terrified of speaking in front of people. Okay. I think that's probably why I'm so good at it now. Cause I'm like, oh no, that's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
I was so nervous. I'm talking about the stupid book, and I dropped my notes all over the ground in front of everyone. Yes. And so much so that when I went back to that professor, because I had multiple of her classes to get a letter of recommendation for graduate school, she goes, oh yeah, you dropped your cards.
You're like, I could not be reminded of that.
I'm like, excuse you. Thank you for re-traumatizing me, professor of psychology, Mary Doyle. We love her. She was actually the professor for my graduate program too. So she was biased to write. So she didn't write me a letter of recommendation. She talked me into going into her program because I was going to go to Cal State Northridge for a program. See how things could have changed.
Yep.
Mary remembered me and my card. So was it embarrassing or was it fate?
I wonder. I wonder what you would have been doing if you went to Cal State.
I know.
You know,
who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows? I'd probably be, I don't know. I'd be a therapist to the stars. Speaking of stars, I'm going to just start messaging people and be like, hey, would you like to come on our podcast and talk about like body image and shit? Because
I'm successful.
Yeah. So just wait, guys. We'll have some peeps on eventually. I want to have some big time names.
Yes. So interesting, because on another episode, we were talking about Kim Kardashian's trainer. And so then I listened to a podcast with Kim Kardashian's trainer. And I was like, she preaches all the same shit we do. Why is Kim Kardashian wearing waist trainers and doing TENS units to grow her legs? Like, I'm so confused.
Well, and Zonica, what's her name?
Who?
Sonata Greca.
No idea what her name is.
Okay. Did she have an accent?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So it's Sonata. So her body is insane.
Is it?
But her brand, unless it's moved, I stopped following because of this reason, unless it's moved into true strength training, because it is strength training, but it's a lot of like multi-exercise movement. So it's the like, squat, sumo squat, bicep curl, overhead press, right? But her body doesn't represent her working out like that. Her body represents heavies,
Well, she talks about that. But maybe this is because, hang on here. Hold on. Because I Googled Kim Kardashian's trainer and it's Melissa Alcantara.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so Sonata Greca used to be her trainer not too long ago.
And these are all...
Yeah, there's a picture of her with Kim.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because I listened to it on Jay Shetty's podcast, who I have no idea who the fuck he is. And...
I was going to send you
Sonata. Okay, so hang on. Maybe it's not. Maybe she fired... No, it's got to be Sonata Greca, and this is her old one then.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
Because this episode came out July 5th.
Mm-hmm. What happened to Kim's new trainers? Oh, Reddit.
Oh, there we go. Reddit.
Something went down. Sonata took down her videos with Kim and is now taking time out for herself. What happened here? They were going strong, or so we thought. Plus, Melissa is back. What's up with all of it?
There we go.
1 year ago. Look at us getting the fucking tea.
Oh.
Have y'all seen her horrible form on her little workout video?
I told you Reddit trashes Kim Kardashian stuff, and so I see it.
Of course she broke her shoulder, but she's probably exaggerating. She probably fired Sonata because she didn't end up looking like how she thought she would, or she saw how much people made fun of her workout videos. It's kind of weird that it's just come out around the same time she broke her shoulder and tore the tendon. If she injured herself working, it's like the least surprising thing I've ever heard in my life. Her form is trash, and Sonata was having her do weird, nonsensical shit, but that's all social media fitness people. Barely any of them are satisfied with normal, traditional exercise or machine usage. Makes me wonder. Her workouts are intense. I've watched them before and felt like I'd hurt myself, so didn't attempt. Not saying that's what happened, but interesting.
Okay. So
probably
now
doesn't look good to have a big BBL butt on her workout page. Anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. Good for her. I don't know. So now Sonata's in this other, so she does this like mindset fitness nutrition app that I get targeted on. And I'm like, interesting move. Cause she used to have her own app.
Yes.
It's solely her. Yeah. So anyway, drama. We love it.
Drama with trainers. Speaking of trainers, Michael goes to a trainer today.
Oh, yay.
I know. First one.
Let's go. I told
Mike. The only thing is he was supposed to start at 4:30, but the trainer texted him and pushed it back till 5. And I was like,
yeah.
Red flag.
I don't remember which of my clients told me this, that they had a trainer who didn't show up sometimes. Was it Sarah that told me this? I think it was Sarah. didn't show up sometimes, would be late sometimes, would be like talking to another trainer while she's doing a
So
set.
inappropriate.
Like, that's your fucking job. Like,
No.
pay attention to your people. I was a bartender and I gave more attention to my freaking
I know.
bar people. Like, I just got off a call with a life coaching client. If you guys don't know, I do take a handful of life coaching people that I just coach on their lives. That's what it's called, life coaching. And very high profile. And we were having this conversation about how it's kind of one of those things in that industry, in the bar industry, right? Of do you just do it yourself sometimes, or do you teach someone else? It's funny. We had a whole conversation on that, but anywho, that's that. Pop culture. We talked about the losses.
Yes.
Let's talk about some gains. Big Brother is coming back. Yes.
Oh, good.
You would like Big Brother. It's strategy.
I used to watch it when all we had was TV, but now I don't watch reality shows.
I did try to get into Love Island, which my boys and girls at the Vial Files love it, but I can't get into it. I can't do it.
Which one is that?
I don't know. It's the longest one where they're there for the longest time. It just seems a little whatever to me. I finished the Sherry Papini documentary, The Good Wife or Perfect Wife. Interestingly, bombshell at the end. Spoiler alert. So fast forward if you don't want to hear this. Her ex-husband talks about the kids talking about what mommy would do when they were sick and gives inclination that she was trying to do like a Munchausen by proxy. She would make them like sniff rubbing alcohol for hours to keep them sick. Like if they had a headache or something, so she can take them to the hospital.
It was a series on Hulu.
No, she's out of prison.
No, I know, but there's this other series on Hulu based on a real story where the mom kept telling her daughter she had cancer.
Gypsy Rose.
Yes, there we go.
She killed her. She's out of prison. Now she has a Lifetime show. That bitch is pregnant with not the guy that she was married to out of prison, getting a divorce from him with her ex-boyfriend, Ken.
The one that killed the mom?
No. No, that guy's in prison still. He's the actual murderer. That was, listen, that girl figured it out. She's like, I'm going to make you do my dirty work. I'm going to go to prison for a little bit. And then I'm going to come out and I'm going to meet Kim Kardashian. Apparently she was on the Kardashians. Look at that.
Well, I see. There is a, she was. Because she was having a conversation about prison reform.
Don't go. No, prison reform is necessary. I'm not going to bring that up, but look at us, look at you in pop culture world.
Well, I used to love the Kardashians. Like, what is it? Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I used to watch it all the time.
Really? I don't see that on. I don't see that as your go-to reality show. What other reality shows have you watched?
I used to watch The Bachelor, like way back in the day.
Nick Viall was a Bachelor.
That's why I'm like, I stopped at some point. I think I stopped probably after season 3 or something.
Trista.
Reality shows did I watch? What reality? I used to watch Real World, and then the Real World Road Rules Challenge.
Yep, love that.
What was that one show? I think it was called Next.
TV.
Remember they would go on the bus and then they would be like, next. I'm just not really into you. Next. And then
and then they'd come out like they'd say something outside of the bus.
Big fan. I was a big fan of Rock of Love with Bret Michaels. And Flavor Flav. His love show. I forget what it was called. Flavor of Love. My mother and I used to watch that together. And to this day, she says, I think that was the best opportunity to teach you about dating and respect.
Oh, I love that.
I was like, elaborate.
She was
Go ahead.
At least she was thinking about that. My mom
Yes.
was not.
Yeah, she was like, because you look and you watch these girls and the way they're treated and they go after the men and you kind of go like, ew, can you believe that? And then, you're sitting there with her and you're like, yeah, I can't, like, ew.
Gross.
Like, I don't want to be
She should
making
be
out
more
with a guy who
respectful.
is just making out with another guy, like, or a girl, like, or a
Or a guy.
Yeah, I don't care. Or like, I don't want to be competing for a guy. I don't want to be like trying to like haggle him and his attention. So I was like, oh, I guess so,
Yeah, that's
So
smart. So moms out there you go.
yeah,
Just
labor of love.
put on here you go. We're gonna talk about like full spectrum. Put on Love Island UK, but like you're also not gonna do that to your face. You're also not gonna act that way. This is how we respect our bodies. This is how we respect ourselves in dating. Love it. Love it. Should we get in the topic for today?
Let's dive in.
Do it.
Hello, listeners. Coach Amanda here. For July, we are letting you know that our August cohort of the Mindset of Mommy's 8-week program is launching. So for this program, we are going to focus on your health before and during pregnancy through education, support, and confidence. In this program, you can expect to have more confidence for pregnancy by learning the benefits of movement and having a structured program to follow. The program will be 2 to 3 days per week, along with beginner and advanced movement options. In this program, you can also expect to increase your nutrition quality with personalized coaching from yours truly. We'll gain awareness to the changes you'll experience mentally, physically, and emotionally during pregnancy, create a strong network of support by learning about a diverse range of professionals to include in your health during this time, as well as gain education on testing done throughout pregnancy. There'll also be a toolkit of resources that includes PDF documents, additional literature that I recommend, podcasts, and social media pages that support your healthiest pregnancy yet. On top of this, you'll get weekly community group calls, weekly written reviews, and our private forum to engage with other like-minded women. You can sign up for this program today for $3.99, and we will start our August cohort August 5th. So if you're interested, please visit mindsetofmommies.com to get more information and to sign up.
I'm glad you added. No, it's not that easy, but we will help.
We will help. Well, and just got out of Nashville, talked about the drinking, and people will always ask, like, how do you go out and like go to the music festivals? We see you have drinks in your hands and all the things. And I'm like, well, it actually does take a lot of planning.
Yes.
And as I get older, there are things that we're going to talk about today that are like, are you sure you want that drink, girl? You sure?
Yep.
You know? Let me tell you guys, it is not uncommon for people to be like, I don't understand why I'm not losing weight. And I'm looking at their food journals and I'm like, well, you told me you had Aperol spritzes with your friends. Where are they? Oh, well, I don't track my alcohol. Okay, well, how often are you having alcohol? I don't know. Like, I'll have like a glass of wine at the end of my day. And then I'll have drinks with my friends on the weekends. And I'm like, okay, so let me have you track that. Go back and just track it for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are we at now? Oh, I'm at maintenance. Right.
Yeah.
So there are calories in alcohol. Why are we pretending like there's not?
I don't know.
Why?
I had a client, Jackie. I always like to use her as an example for this because she would have 1-2 glasses of wine every night. And so she tracked, I think she tracked before she came to us. I can't remember, but she tracked and I was like, okay, what? And then it came out like she was talking about it. I was like, but you don't put that in your logs. And she was like, no. And I was like, you need to, because they also, I think when we were working with her, it was during the summer and they're in Michigan. I don't recall exactly, but they, then you go on the boat in the weekends. And so I was like, all that needs to be tracked, and for what her goals were. Now, if I had a different client, they might have different tracking criteria to meet. But once I was like, let's just track it and see where you're at. So same thing. Right. And then she was like, oh, and I was like, yeah.
Yes.
So one of the easiest things to do is to cut out the alcohol. And I think it's important that you and I emphasize it doesn't mean don't have alcohol. It doesn't mean that you don't have alcohol for 30 days and then you can have it back. Like there's not an indefinite timeline. It just means we have to kind of face the reality of it and ask, does my habit meet my goal? Correct. And if not, do I need to change the habit or do I need to change the goal? Because both is okay, but you can't have a mismatch and then be upset that one isn't being met.
Because happens all the time.
Yes. All
Happens all the time.
Yes.
And here's the funny thing is, y'all don't think we're not watching your stories on Instagram. We are. I see that fucking third espresso martini that's 200 calories a piece. Like, have a vodka soda for crying out loud. Like, I see you. And then all the things you do after.
The margarita, like this frozen
Come on.
margaritas.
Why do you think I drink light beer? Like, that's the reason.
I do tequila soda.
Yeah. See, when I drink those, I drink them fast because I drink soda water.
Well, I got a trick with that.
But then I add, well, yeah. Okay, we'll talk about it. Anyways, so that is absolutely true. We have to realize that if we want to, and we talk about this in the episode on like, are you ready for a fat loss phase? Like, we have to realize like losing body fat, especially as you're getting older, you aren't 20 anymore. And if you are, just remember this for the future. You've got to make compromises, right? And there'll be people like me. I know I'm an anomaly in this situation. I know that, but also we'll talk about why. But you have to, if you're going to drink, you have to not only have a plan, but also be consistent the rest of the week. Okay. The other part of this too is then we have the hangover day. So now we're 2 days. People act like they're incapable. It's like, well, get up, go move, go have some water. So I think that that's really important. Now, I've been watching Rhonda Patrick. She's been doing a lot about the toxins and the inflammation in the brain, the inflammation in the gut. I see a lot in regards to perimenopause and menopause of how it affects inflammation more. Obviously, our estrogen is an anti-inflammatory. So when it goes down, we are seeing more inflammation in the body. And obviously adding alcohol to that mix is only going to make it worse. So keep that in mind. But we're going to talk generally today and not from a like, it's a toxin, don't do it, because we're realists and we know the people we work with. And I'm that person. Like, and you are when you're not having a child, right?
Yes. And my significant other is very much a drinker.
Very much. He tries to egg me out. Like, why are you leaving? I'm like, Michael, been doing this for 10 hours. So first things first, you got to be truthful.
Yes. And I think this is what I also noticed too, is not only do they do this with like the treats and the desserts and the snacks, but when we're reflecting or inputting our food or doing our journal or however we're creating a consistency of information of nutrition, we'll say, they tend to stop.
Sounds so fancy.
I know. Well, because I don't want to say if you are tracking, because some people aren't, but when you're reflecting, so there's a variety, but they often like put the 2 drinks in and then that's it, because they don't want to admit
drink
that they had the 5, 8, 10 drinks over the time. And I had a client who did this and she was younger too. And I was like, you've got to put it in, like, because again, you're probably going over and this is easily solved, but you have to also, like you said, be honest about, do you want to solve it? Because if you do want to have the 10 drinks when you're going out, then there's a lot of different changes that we need to make on the back end to help you accomplish having the 10 drinks while still meeting your goal.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people are like, 10 drinks.
That's easy.
Easy peasy.
Easy.
Jello shots.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah. I have to give my client a shout out. I used to do so for those who don't know, we have a variety of forms that we can like provide for our clients to help create plans, keep them on plan. And one of them is the special events calendar. And you have to tell me what amount of drinks you're having. And she would literally be like 12.
Yes.
And I'm putting it on the higher side. And then the next week she'd be like, I had 6, you know?
Yes.
So, and she, bless her heart, not in a bad way. She's young. She travels every freaking way. I swear to God, this girl has been to more weddings in the past 3 months than I've been in my life. And there's drinking. She's got sweet tickets to things and she's doing all right. I mean, she's not seeing progress down, but she's also not seeing progress up. But it's because she's honest with me that she's going to have a total of like 15 drinks over the week.
Well, and that's fine. Like, I'm not judging that, but what I am gonna judge is the dishonesty of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where
Yep.
I'm like, okay, well, now you're making our relationship more challenging because
Mm-hmm.
not only can we help you plan, but now I'm trying to figure out, well, why are we being dishonest about this? Like, where is that actually coming from instead of moving forward and helping you find that solution?
Yeah. I feel bad for Jenny. I'm like, those carbs are drinks. She's like, oh, okay. But
Okay,
anyway.
well, her.
So I think it's important. Now, for me, I've said this before, I don't drink during the week.
Right.
I drink on Saturdays. Most of the time, Friday nights, we usually just order in, I stay at home. But Saturdays can be an all day event. We can go to a brunch and then we're going to a baseball game and then we're going to go grab dinner after that. Like it's a whole thing. And I'm very aware of that. And for me, it is a kind of like alcohol has become a social event. It is as my therapist and I have talked about, because I've talked to her about it. Like, I don't want it to be, because it can get out of hand, right? And she's like, you're so on all the time with everything. It just becomes that day to like let go and relax. But like, I don't do it necessarily through food.
Mhm.
And I was talking about all of our friends of like, all of my friends are like this.
You guys are drinkers.
Where, yeah, they like very much. And I do, like I said, like a lot of my friends drink on the weekdays too, on top of that like weekend event. And I don't, just because again, there's just so many reasons I don't want to. And I think that really is my saving grace, to be honest with you, but a lot of people use it as a coping skill, where
Right.
mine is, I guess you can consider mine a coping skill, but it's just kind of a like, I don't want to say let loose, because that reminds me of like that like binge mentality.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm very aware in the moment. Like I know what's going on. And
Right.
I know
And I almost
like,
said gateway,
so
but then I'm like, but you're not really using it as like a gateway to like escape your reality.
and
think
I
you're
wake up the next day and I work out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
just become almost conditioned. Like that's what our friends do. Right.
Well, I think what's important that we're both trying to say for you specifically is that you have a neutral relationship with it.
Yes.
Whereas when you're talking about the friends that, or even clients or whomever might be listening to this, that use it at the end of the day as a coping mechanism,
Yeah.
that's when we've got to, again, why are we needing that to cope? What is
Right.
going on that's stressful? And that even goes back to our like rest and recovery episode. It goes back to like binge eating episodes. It goes back to your toxic resilience episodes
Yes.
of what is this outlet that you're getting from the alcohol that we're not achieving in a maybe more sustainable way, or a way that better aligns with your goals, or maybe something like that too.
Well, and a lot of people think like, oh, I just needed to decompress, when the effects of alcohol in the system they do that for a short amount of time, but they actually increase anxiety and depression if we're doing that for a long period of time. So you're making up this story in your head that this is going to help me decompress, but we're just seeing your anxiety levels get higher and higher if we're using it in that way. Right. And so the first thing I want you guys to look at is why am I needing it? Right. For some people, they'll cut it out, or they'll reduce it massively. But if that's becoming a difficulty for you, like Mark and I reduced it significantly, especially just being away, and people are like, well, yeah, you're not around your friends. But I'm like, but that's a good thing to me, that even like, I can be like, no, I don't want it. I know what the catalyst is. But if I was like, oh, I need it, I need to go do it, then there's that problem. So really thinking about it, why I need it. There'll be friends. We made up a term earlier today, binge bonds, which we're going to do a whole show on, that you have these people in your life you binge with. And I used to have both friends that was like food binge and alcohol binge bonds. So be aware of your binge bonds with your friends.
Well, and even I can touch on, like, for Michael lately, so like if he had a bad day at work, he would have like a nice cup of whiskey. And lately he hasn't been doing that. And I was like, he's like, oh, hon, I just really want a cup of, like, I shouldn't say a cup, a glass of whiskey.
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh, like, just have one. He goes, no, because I realized that I'm using the whiskey to, like, not feel so angry and frustrated by the day. And I'm really trying to feel my emotions.
Yay. I taught him that.
I was like, oh my God, like, okay.
Love that.
Yeah, like but that took him a very long time to get to as well. So, like, we're talking about these revelations, and I remember you when you said, like, I'm only going to drink 1 day a week. Like, I remember that conversation. It took you a bit to get there. And then some days you'd be like, oh crap, I drank 2. And like some weeks you'd be like, oh crap, I drank 3. And then we went
never drink 3.
Or okay, 2. And so,
well, I shouldn't say that because that just came from Nashville. Liar. I'm a liar.
Liar.
So, like, on a normal basis.
But realize, like, it doesn't have to be like this commitment that's so hell-bent that it may take time for you to find a new pattern.
Yes.
Association with alcohol too, right? Just like food and nutrition, like we talk about. It might take some time before you realize, like, oh, maybe instead of ordering a pizza, I'll get a chicken sandwich or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that brings us to our next point of, like, planning ahead. People will be like, oh, I'm going to go, I went out with friends and I didn't know how to track the food and I had the drinks and they don't put it in, but then I'm looking at the rest of their log and I'm like, you didn't put shit in this week.
Yeah.
Like, I am searching ahead. And I know, listen, guys, I know what I'm about to say is a bit ridiculous. However, if I have a goal and I'm still trying to socialize, this is what I do, right? So I will look ahead of time. I will plan all my drinks. I will put them in first. Then I will find the food, because for me, the food is like, meh, I'll find the food, right? If I just need to have, and I will, like, I'll be like, I'll just have a chicken salad, right? Do I want a chicken salad? No, but it doesn't matter to me, right? Because I'm like, I'm having these drinks. So I put that in on Saturday. I plan the rest of Saturday, and then I'll calorie bank, kind of eat a little bit lighter during the week, still getting all my meals in, still hitting, a good amount of food, but then have a little bit more on that Saturday and still track it. And then on Sunday, I will try to be active. And I also do a little thing that we'll talk about later, but you have to plan ahead. You have to plan ahead. I don't get this. Again, I just said it's ridiculous, but then don't get mad at yourself that you feel fluffy.
Right.
One of my besties is listening to this. She's like, this bitch is talking about me.
We are. My thing is, like, I think the important part to emphasize for you're saying is, if you have a goal, and we're talking specifically about, like, how to have alcohol during a weight loss phase here too. Like, if you have a goal, then you have to make these adjustments to achieve that. Correct. So it would be similar to, okay, if your goal is, like, even nutrition wise, replace it when you are going on vacation but you're in a weight loss phase. You've got to kind of figure it out and plan ahead and know how to order and what to order. It's the same thing, but it's just when we put alcohol instead of Brussels sprouts or something like that in the picture, right, that it all is like, oh, well, now you're just taking away my fun. And it's like, for me,
that goes back to the belief around it.
Yes. And I'm like, okay, well, hold up here, because this is, yes, we can have fun, but what's not fun is you messaging me tomorrow and being like, oh my God, I had 5 drinks. I hate myself, like, all of that stuff. Like, that takes away the fun of it.
Correct.
And so why don't we just plan ahead? Like, so for example, like you said with your one client, she's having 12 to 15 drinks. Like, I'll ask clients, so how many drinks, like, realistically do you think you're going to have? And they'll say 5. And I'll be like, let's just put in 7, because
perfect.
I always make them add more. I say, because 1, if you don't drink the 7, then great, you've got some extra calories for the following day, or maybe that day. Or 2, if you have 7, we plan for it. And then that takes away all of that shame and guilt that you're experiencing.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. And another thing that I like them to do is like, how are we going to get a lot of protein in before we're going to that event, right?
Yes.
Because most of the time when you're a little tipsy, you're not like, ooh, chicken breast. You want, something more indulgent. And if you've planned ahead, hopefully you get the thing you get. I do. Like, again, this is what I talk about. Like, I know what's going on. Like, I'm like, no, I said I was going to order this salmon. I'm ordering the salmon. Like, my brain is different. But, making sure, because alcohol is empty calories. What that means is there's no nutrients that it provides. Also, when alcohol is in your system, your body sees that as a toxin and it needs to metabolize that first. So it's not metabolizing the other types of, macronutrients, fats, carbs specifically, right? And so they can be stored as body fat. But the alcohol needs to be metabolized first. However, and now the jury is out. I've seen different camps on like protein while drinking. And if you do actually have some protein, that your body can kind of process it. I may be way off here. I interrupt this episode to bring you our 2nd July promo, 50% off the Mindset Method Self-Guided Coaching Program. This curriculum walks you through my mindset method to help you recreate a relationship with your body, food, and exercise. In this program, you're going to receive a weekly mindset reflection based in the method: the know, the name, the notice, and the nurture. On top of that, you're going to receive daily journal prompts to help you enhance what you're learning in that week's time. You'll also get access to our community forum, and most importantly, access to a Q&A link where you can get coaching from Coach Amanda and I in this exact podcast on everything you're learning. So if you're someone who's looking to recreate her relationship with who she sees in the mirror, how she trains herself, how she feeds herself, or wants to quiet the food noise or the toxic resilience, click our show notes below to receive 50% off using the code INTRO50. Now, back to the show. But I've seen it on two sides that, having high protein meals is better than if you were to have like the heavy carbs, heavy fat meals. So we want to have a plan to, like you said, do the extra 7, right? But also we want to have a good amount of like protein that day. So for me, I'm always like, what does your high protein breakfast look like? When it's important to note when the body is metabolizing alcohol, it stops metabolizing things like carbohydrates and fats because the body is looking at the alcohol as a toxin. Okay. In regards to protein, it stops protein synthesis. So you're not going to get muscular turnover. But the interesting things about the fats and the carbs is that with fats, rather than utilizing those fats as energy, it will most likely store them. And glucose from carbohydrates, it will not use it for energy while it's metabolizing alcohol. And those two things can be stored as fat. And that is why, for me, I try to go a bit higher on the protein that day, or even, like I said, like I don't struggle with making choices when eating, when obviously a lot of people do. Like I'll just go like, even if you guys, like I have like a Caesar salad, I'll do double chicken.
Yeah.
Right. And eat that first, just because I know more than likely, like now again, we're splitting hairs, but I'm not going to have this excess in body fat more than I'm already going to have because of the alcohol. You know what I mean?
One thing is important that you're talking about that we're not specifically touching on is that Christina and I and whomever our client is, we encourage them to eat before they start drinking.
Oh,
so I'll see, right? So I'll see that a lot of like, if I don't eat my Caesar salad, then I've actually got, we'll say Caesar salad, 600 calories or something like that. Now I've got 600 calories to allocate towards drinking anyways.
No, don't do it.
Don't do that. And what I would actually say your outcome is going to be is that you're going to end up consuming more because you're going to get to a point where you're so hungry, but you're been drinking. So when we drink, we know our inhibition declines, right? Like we have no kind of gateway of pass and go. So now your willingness to maybe have the pizza instead of the Caesar salad with double protein is going to be higher to have the pizza because now you're in this fuck it, whatever, I don't care. And so
Right.
not only have you had the 7 drinks that we allocated, but you haven't ate before, so you're low on protein. And now you're having this high carb, high fat meal, which again, if you're willing, like if Christina decided to have the pizza for that day when she was planning ahead, that's a decision that she can wake up the next day and say, I made that choice.
Mm-hmm.
But now when you're putting yourself in this decision of, I didn't really make this choice, I just kind of said, fuck it. And then the next day it makes that, I don't want to say hangover worse, but like the hangover of guilt and shame.
Anxiety.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important whether, even if you're going, like I'll tell clients like, well, I'm going to brunch at 10, so I don't want to eat before. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like you can have a Greek yogurt with some protein powder and berries before. That is not going to fill you up so much that you literally cannot have brunch. And even if you're going at 10, let's be honest, you're really not eating until 11 anyways. So it's like, we need to eat before, and it needs to be a heavy protein option. And then we also, again, need to be honest about our drinks and then go from there.
Yep, I agree. And if you are like me, like when I did my cut when we were in Chicago, Boston, and Columbus, I also chose a DoorDash meal for the evening. So we would
good idea.
Yeah. So I found Kava is great for that because you can get some good stuff. Chipotle. There was a couple places in Chicago that we would order from specifically so that I didn't have to make anything, or, and I was door dashing. So my brain, I'm like, oh, this is, fancy, not fancy, but this is indulgent. It's not. And I would just track that ahead too. So I'll do that as well. Like I'll track ahead even and take it a step further. I will also I tell my clients this all the time, like, say you're someone who, when you've had too much to drink, you the next morning want like a greasy fat breakfast burrito. Instead of going to like Filiberto's, for those who don't know what Filiberto's is, it's like a drive-through Mexican restaurant in Arizona, and it's delicious. Bean and cheese burrito. Yeah. Anyway, instead of going through Philly Bees or wherever you go, make that shit. Have the ingredients at your house. Right. You can do some egg whites, some turkey, like you can make those small swaps for the food. Right. So I'm taking it that far with my clients. I'm like, all right, what's our hangover meal for tomorrow? What are you making? And they're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, okay, let's go get some bagel thins. Let's get some, some cream cheese, some salmon, and make a bagel and lox if that's your go-to. So let's talk about swaps, right? In regards to like what to drink. And then we'll talk about trade-offs of drinking too. So swaps in 2 different ways. So we talked about it. Your espresso martini and Aperol spritz, ladies, 2 is like a whole meal.
Really?
Yes. They're like 200 calories a piece.
Oh my gosh.
I understand you like them. However,
they are 200 to 300. Oh my gosh.
Yes. So Mark loves a good Moscow Mule. So instead of having the ginger beer, because most places don't have light ginger beer, he does a vodka, a Tito's soda with a splash of ginger beer. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are small things to make, small changes to make. One thing I love, which you were going to touch on, so I'll let you have it, the tequila soda. Yep. What do you do?
I like tequila soda with lime or lemon or cucumber or jalapeno.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So even because that's like, are people when they're like, I want a margarita, I'm like, well, that margarita mix has calories too, right? Just because margarita is tequila with
it's like 350 calories.
Yeah, they're a lot. So if you do the tequila, and even sometimes like what I really like is when a restaurant has like fresh lime juice.
Yes.
Like just do the soda with tequila, fresh lime juice, and that's fine.
Yep. And salt.
Okay. Well, and salt. And if you want it spicy, ask them to add a jalapeno. Like, that's okay. Or what I've been doing lately, since I can't drink, is a mojito, but without the syrup. So because I don't like it that sweet. So, okay, get a mojito without the syrup and whatever liquor you want. But one of the things is with those kind of drinks, like you were saying, is they're really easy to go down because if they make them well, it just tastes like a club soda with lime.
Right. So I have a hack for that.
That's what I have a hack for that. What's your
go? You
hack?
have
a hack?
I think so.
Probably. I drink the tequila and then I switch for a club soda with lime only.
Oh.
And then I go back to so I have a club because it makes
Alright.
me think I'm still doing it.
So I keep the same glass,
Uh-huh.
have a little bit of tequila at the bottom, ask for a soda water, fill up the same glass. 'Cause
Oh,
then
okay.
my brain smells that tequila
Yes.
smell, and I'm like, I'm just drinking another tequila.
Yes.
That's a good hack.
Yeah.
Coors Light doesn't do that for me,
No.
unfortunately. You can do that with wine, like a wine spritz.
Yep.
I've had a lot of clients do that. They'll just ask for a side of ice, soda water, and they'll just have a little wine spritz.
Yep.
So those are really easy. And, like you said, your sweet and sours, your full sodas, your juices, your,
Frozens.
espresso martinis
Uh-huh.
are more, because espresso doesn't have a ton, but you have it's the cordials in it that are sugary.
Vodka, the Kahlua coffee liquor, and then the simple syrups, just half an ounce of that is 50 calories, which is not a lot, but I'll tell you what, you could get a lot of watermelon for 50 calories.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Watermelon's a great little. Oh, you know what else I like? So watermelon is good, and then
cucumber.
Bringing Mio, like the water refreshers.
Yeah. My girlfriend.
You know what else is
in college?
Our friend Rudy does it. Freaking Element.
Mm-hmm.
Put an Element, that's so good.
Yeah.
Lime Element tequila. I'm gonna try that. It's happening. Anyway, so make some important swaps. Like understand the lighter the liquor, the less calories it's going to be, right? Your Trulies, neutrals, what else? I know there's a bunch of them. White Claws,
high noons.
Long drinks, high noons. They're going to be roughly around 100 calories, right? So those are go-tos. Light beers, like the light beer game is getting on just as much as the NA beer game is getting on. So you've got like Corona Premier, which is delicious. It's 92 calories. And so that's a good choice. Obviously you have your Michelob Ultra. There's been Amstel came out with a 55, which is pretty good. I like to get that when I'm traveling outside of the country because I don't necessarily always want like whatever beer they have. So those are swaps there. Anything else with swaps? So food swaps we talked about already. Like if you can get your brain in check and say, look, I'm having these drinks. This is my indulgence for the day. A lot of people do that where it's like, well, I had the indulgence, so I'm just going to keep going with the others. It's like just intend like this is my indulgence. So I'm going to be legit with my food, or I'm just going to use the word strict with my food. Like I'm only ordering this thing. It's the thing that I decided on ordering. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's the trade-off. We said this last night. We went to dinner and we had drinks, which again, the whole week has been way too much for me. Right. And the waiter came up and he's like, "Do you guys want dessert?" And we all said no. Like the drink was our dessert, right? But people want to like layer and layer and layer.
Too, that people don't talk about is like choose again. If we're in like more of a weight loss phase, is choose between the dessert, the appetizer, or the third glass of alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like. If you want the appetizer, maybe we just have 2 glasses. If we want dessert, maybe we just have 2 glasses. If we want the appetizer and the dessert, then maybe we don't drink.
Yes.
And even like, I think one thing going back to like the alcohol is when we were talking about like the in-between and getting soda and your water and all that, like, remember you'll get drunk. Like, I think that's, you forget because like alcohol, it's not like, oh, I take the drink and then I'm drunk. It's like, I take the drink and then I'm eventually drunk, right?
Yep.
And so I think a lot of people, it's not like a binge, but they tend to rush towards the buzz that they're seeking, which is fine. But remember, it probably takes less than, like for your girl, it probably doesn't take 12 drinks to get her buzzed.
No.
Right. That's probably like blackout territory, which is supposed to black out. That's great. But I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
But remember, like, and that's also can be part of your goal of like, okay, when I get the buzz, like, how do I maintain that? without going over, because if I find that when clients can maintain that buzz is what most of us want, then the next day, the decisions that they make for nutrition wise tend to align with their goals. Whereas when they do the workout, the hammer, the drinks, the next day they think, oh, fuck it, I've already done it. Like, I might as well.
You know, it's interesting because when I pull back, I realize like that same thing. Like I'm trying to like find it instead of like not find it, like get it sooner than find it. And 2 drinks spaced out correctly. Like you'll learn that when you make these compromises, you're like, oh, I was really having more than I needed. Like I only need a couple drinks and I got a little buzz going. I'm feeling good. And, you know, if later down the line, I want to keep that going because we're going to be out for a long time, I can have that. But it is true. Like people are like trying to just get it sooner than later. Yeah. Good. So let's talk about tracking. So alcohol is the 4th macronutrient. Again, there's no nutrients. It's empty, but it has calories. So we have to track it because it's got calories. Okay. So alcohol, so say that you have a Truly. It says 100 calories. On the can, it's going to say it only has 4 carbs. Lies. Right? There's no carbs. It's full of ethanol, which is the macro, quote unquote, nutrient that you're getting that has no nutrient, but has calories. So to understand how to track it, you can track it as a carb or a fat. The way that we do that is if we're tracking it as a carb, we're taking that 100 calories and dividing it by 4. We're tracking it as a fat. We're taking 100 calories and divide it by 9. And you can track that in MyFitnessPal. So that's how you'll want to track it. And we want to track it in macros if you're tracking macros. Now, if you're only tracking calories, you can just track the calories. But that's the way we do it. Again, we want it to be carbs or fats, preferably carbohydrates, because fats are essential. And proteins are essential. So we want to be eating those. But that's how I do it. Thoughts?
That's how I do it. Nope.
Prayers. Good. So really, you know, having a game plan, tracking ahead, making the swaps, setting intentions, and spacing the drink outs, like you said, not getting to a place where we're completely, you know, effed up and we're eating all the nachos and then we wake up the next day and have the burrito. That's not going to get you to where you're at. And guess what, guys? Not tracking it doesn't make it go away. What it makes is frustration. You are going to look at people will do this. They will look at their food log, but look, I tracked so well. I'm like, well, yeah, without the alcohol, right? Like you hit your numbers, but you had 1,000 calories in drinks, you know? And so it can happen. I've seen it. I've seen people lose weight and look amazing and have drinks and be social. I've seen people not. I've seen people gain weight and, you know, really hide a lot of things. And then when you're like, hey, like what's going on? They don't want to be honest. And then they feel very frustrated.
I got one thing I want to add too is, so a couple of things with tracking and then making drinks at home. So tracking, like, just assume, like, if you're going to track, like, let's say I'm just going to track tequila, right? Because I don't need to track like a tequila, soda, lime. If I'm going to track tequila, I'm going to put it in there as like a tequila shot. I'm going to choose the more higher calorie one just to give myself some cushion. But even like if it says 1 shot or fluid ounces, I'm going to cushion that a little bit too. And so
normal bar is more than that.
Correct. So then great point. Because when, say you're drinking at home, don't just pour it in the glass, like measure it out. So what that could mean, like maybe get your little shot glass or your double shot that you have at home, put the liquor in there and then put it in the drink to make. Because you're eyeballing, unless you're an expert bartender who worked at Santisi's, is probably your eyeball is just as accurate as your eyeball with food, right?
Yes.
So you actually need to measure it. And
that's a great point.
It sucks.
Wine is too. Wine's the same way.
Wine's the same way. And I saw something, I forget who posted it. It was like what people think is a pour of wine. And it was like, twice as big what actually is a pour of wine. And
Right.
so realize like the restaurants have a propensity to overpour. So again, you need to give yourself that cushion because maybe you are having 2 glasses of wine, but you're actually their pour is probably 3, right? Because if they're doing
Yes.
1.5. So maybe that's the reality of putting that in there. If you're at home, like, and you're like, oh, I'll just finish off the bottle because there's X amount. That might not be a 6-ounce glass. It might be 7 or 8, which does it make that big of a difference? Yes. Because over time, those calories will accumulate and then that impacts the goal.
Yep. Just like cutting a drink over time will accumulate and impact the goal in a positive way.
Yeah.
So it's definitely possible, but you've got to be honest. You have to have a plan. A lot of what we're talking about falls into kind of the all or nothing mindset, the kind of fuck it's as people get. The association with alcohol is that kind of unwind, de-stress. So if I'm doing that, then I don't want to do anything else that causes me stress. I hear that all the time. I didn't want to be on my phone. I'm like, okay, what? I guarantee you're on your fucking phone when you were relaxing. Don't bring me that shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so good. I'm trying to think of anything else. If I have any other tips. Oh, as Dr. Julie said, the more muscle you have, the better you metabolize.
Yeah.
I was like asking for a friend.
I know.
Does that mean? Just kidding.
I'm
I remember too. Yeah. Remember too, like we talked about this before, like that friend who is more muscular and can go out and have the drinks and still look fantastic. It's because she's doing all the things outside of that are right. I shouldn't say right, but like right for her. And that's really important. It's also to find like your set of things. We're talking about maybe those 2 days. We expanded a little bit on the week, but we're still moving. We're doing our workouts. Like for me, I even go as far as like LMNT and bringing DHM, which is I believe it's like a probiotic. It's a supplement. It's a longer name.
Is it like prebiotics? Is that similar?
Adrian introduced it to me. You can get it on Amazon, and I like Z-Biotics as well. Z-Biotics is, and we'll put a link for Z-Biotics here. A great supplement. It's a probiotic to help with the breakdown of, is it? I'm going to say the word wrong. Acetaldehyde. No, it is. I know the word. Hold on. Blah blah blah. Acetaldehyde. So the body converts ethanol to acetaldehyde using the enzyme alcohol dehydrogenase. Then acetaldehyde is further broken down to acetylate by aldehydrogenase dehydrogenase. Acetate is eventually converted to carbon dioxide and water, which the body can use for energy or eliminate. So Z-Biotics helps with the absorption process in the gut. I do stand by it. Mark does too, which he normally doesn't. Yeah, I use LMNT too. So awesome. All right. Well, if you're like, I've never had a coach tell me I could have wine and weight loss. Well, we're the coach for you. We are the coaches for you. Now, some of us drink, some of us don't. So obviously I'm going to put you with a coach who knows what's up. If you're interested in coaching with us, please set up a clarity call. We will have a convo with you about what is the best programs for you and best coach in our staff of ladies. If you want to find us on Instagram, you will find Coach Amanda at fitbyamanda.az or myself and the rest of the team at Mindset of Matter Coaching. You will also find our very glitchy video of this on YouTube at The Mindset of Matter. Our promos for the month, as we've discussed throughout this episode, are Mindset of Mommies, $100 off. Our first cohort starts in August. We also have the Mindset Method self-guided program at 50% off using code INTRO50, which you will see all of those links below. And anything else?
No.
Okay. Well, if you want to not lose weight and not drink wine, but want to learn one thing, the one thing I want you to remember is this.
What you say in the mind.
You see in the mirror.
Toodles.
Toodles. Hey, we got it.